Hey guys, it's Johnny. Um, I posted up on my main Facebook page about transactional hijacking or transactional hostage taking. And I thought that it was a really good topic to talk about here. So I wanted to kind of expand on my theme a little bit and talk to you a little bit more about what it means. So the whole idea of any kind of like transactional hostage or hijacking has to do with the relationship between two people, right? So you have this relationship between you and I, for example. Like there is an exchange. There's an exchange of energy. There's an exchange of process. There's an exchange of thought. And it depends on what our relationship is, right? So if I'm like the clerk at Circle K, our relationship is one of you purchasing something from Circle K. If our relationship is a therapist and a patient, for example, then our relationship is one of therapizing and all of that good stuff. If our relationship is a teacher and a student, I mean, you get the idea. So the point is that when you have these relationships with other people in your life, there tends to be expectations for those relationships, right? So if my expectation for our relationship is one that I can just take from the relationship and I don't have to give anything back, then that creates a deficit between us. And that it doesn't mean that every single relationship transfer has to be a give and take immediately, but there has to be some kind of like a long-term giving and taking of relationshiping between people, right? So there has to be some kind of like an idea that at one point in time, if I give you this, you're going to give me something back. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like for like. So if I buy you a birthday present, that doesn't necessarily mean that I should expect that you're going to buy me a birthday present back. But what it should mean is that there will be some kind of like an exchange of acceptance of the gift and appreciation for what it is that I have done for you, depending on. And it shouldn't even be predicated on whether or not the gift is expensive or not expensive or anything. There just should be an exchange of energy between us, right? And so that's a reasonable expectation. But I think what ends up happening especially in our common culture right now, especially with social media, there's this expectation that the transfer is one way. So I can give you negative energy and I control you, or I can be mean to you, or I can have expectations that are unreasonable of you, and I can set you up for failure, and somehow you're supposed to just accept that. And or you fight back, and then we have a flame war, and then whoever happens to be like, the strongest alpha whatever wins, right? What are we dogs? Are we mountain goats fighting and vying for, whatever. That's ridiculousness. So the point is that if I have some kind of a transactional relationship with you, which is pretty much every relationship, right? There's an exchange of energy no matter what. So we talk about money in terms of energy. We talk about love or responsibility or respect as a form of energy between us, right? So we have this energy exchange between us. And if that energy exchange in any way is unbalanced, then what does that leave us with? It leaves us with a situation where somebody is being hijacked. Somebody is being held hostage by the other person because there's a power deficit. And power deficits, for anyone who's studied any kind of sociology in your life, I don't care what kind of class it was, but if you've studied any kind of sociology in your life, you understand that power struggles are like the worst kind of energy transference between people that can ever exist, because a power struggle is basically like me just trying to exert power over you. It doesn't have anything to do with a real relationship between the two of us. And so many of our modern relationships are built and predicated on, guess what? Power relationships. I have something over you. I'm the IRS. I'm the bill collector. I'm the, whatever. And I'm not saying that you might not owe people money and you might not be in a relationship where you have a deficit because you have not, fulfilled your end of a bargain. But what I'm saying is that we've gotten extreme with it. We've gotten to the point where there's these companies out there that have this expectation that we as consumers have some kind of a job above and beyond the responsibility of paying our bills every month. How do I have a responsibility to AT&T, for example, or Comcast, or I could name like a million different companies that I've had negative relationships with in terms of like power struggles, because they've held whatever it is in check. And they've determined and decided that they're not going to do their job and that it's somehow my fault, even though I'm the consumer. And that's the problem. And then there's the opposite part of that, where people try to hide behind that. Well, I'm just the consumer. No, you still have a responsibility to pay your bills. You still have a responsibility to do the things that you need to do. And so I see this this power struggle between people, especially now that we have social media, because it's so much easier for people to get on, online, like right now, and talk about our issues and have conversations with people about what it is that, we're frustrated with, or that we want people to do, or whatever. And so we have these, these connections with people, and it makes it so much easier for people to troll each other, for example. It makes it so much easier for people to put each other into this kind of power situation where I'm over you, and part of my thinking about all of this was just how women who are in our society, we're really taught to shrink back. We're taught to not push forth. If I'm a power woman, I'm considered a bitch, right? I am not considered to be somebody who's necessarily thoughtful or necessarily powerful. I'm considered somebody who's just complaining and whining, right? I'm not actually how true is that for so many of us as women, that our connection with trying to be empowered and have a voice, and yet we don't have a voice because we're supposed to be meek and mild. We're supposed to apologize for things. I mean, how often do we as women have there's this expectation, if I were a dude right now and I were having this conversation, I bet money that I would have tons of viewers right now. I would have people backing up and being yeah, that is totally right. But because I'm a woman and I'm strong opinionated and I have my own voice and I'm not afraid to share it, that intimidates people. It's true. And I'm not going to stop sharing my voice, and I'm not going to stop, being out there. It's just not going to happen. I mean, we as women need to stand up, and we need to take control of our voices, and we need to be more empowered to do so. And, this isn't like a bashing. That's what happens every time. Oh, you're bashing men. You're bashing anybody who's not a woman. No, nobody said that any guy was, any dude was wrong for any of this. But what I'm saying right now is that women need to feel more empowered about standing up for themselves and not taking a lesser victimized role in our relationships. It's part of our job right now. Like, we can sit here and we can bitch and complain about, like, the power struggle. Stand up for yourselves. And if enough of us stand up together, guess what? Our voice is that much stronger. So that's my message for tonight. I just needed to add on to what I was saying earlier about transactional hostage taking, because it happens. It happens between women. Women can transactionally hostage take each other just as easily as, we can be hostage taken by other people. But it's a matter of like standing up and, making your voice heard, right? So I love you all. Have a good evening. Bye.